Good morning. Welcome to Unity. Welcome to this special hour. In some way, I can say welcome to the ashram, or to the temple, or to the mosque, or a cathedral, because we come together with people everywhere. We come together in a celebration of love and oneness. Our words may be different, but the spirit we share is the same. And we affirm something about who we are as a unity spiritual community. Our God is love. Our race is human. Our faith is oneness. And we come into that love, into that shared humanity, into that oneness, open and receptive to God's living Spirit. Don't leave anything out in the parking lot. Don't leave anything at home. Bring everything in. Bring everything that's going on in your life, everything that's going on in the world that you hear on the news, that you've heard from other people. Bring that in here, open and receptive to the living, loving, transformative Spirit of God. And so we bring that up in our minds and our hearts. And as a symbol of that, we bring up the prayer requests that have been submitted to our prayer ministry here. So, what's going on? Bring that up and be with that right now at this time. Okay, Jerry. Let's see, unity and new thought have been around for about 130 years. And even so, our spiritual tradition here, our spiritual path is considered unconventional. We're spiritual seekers. For the most part, we're people that didn't grow up in this tradition, but we chose to spend time in this tradition on our spiritual path. I'm starting a 6-week series about the spiritual path, about the quest, about seeking and finding, about setting aside the traditional and the conventional and opening up to something that is a little more meaningful for us. And I'm using as a framework for that the 23rd Psalm. The most famous, the most popular single thing in the Bible. Not just because it's read at most every funeral, but because it's inspiring. The 23rd Psalm is a psalm of a poem of assurance. It's an affirmative claim that all will be well. It brings comfort. When we were doing our series on the book Sabbath and looking at different practices and principles of being renewed in a Sabbath time, there was a reference in that book to somebody who read the 23rd Psalm every day as a way of getting centered, as a way of entering into that consciousness of rest and renewal of Sabbath time. So it's popular. Kids have to memorize it in Sunday school. I know I did. But besides the popularity, besides the comfort there's a sense of there's something more going on there. There's some deeper truth there. Different levels of it. One of the deeper things that's within there is the model of spiritual growth, what Joseph Campbell called the hero's journey, the heroic quest. 3 steps in it. And we're going to be using that framework of 3 steps in the heroic journey as a lens through which to look at the 23rd Psalm. The 3 steps are entry. You start the journey. A road of trials. There are difficulties that come up. And then there's the return. The other side of the valley. This week we're talking about entry. Next week we're talking about entry, the beginning process. Not everybody chooses that journey. We have to choose it. It's not automatic. Sometimes we're thrown into a turbulent time and we're forced to grasp for something comforting or spiritual. But more often than not, it takes a decision to embark on a spiritual pilgrimage. So, you remember the words, they're familiar. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters and restores my soul. He leads me on the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley in the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, and my cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. That's a standard, traditional translation. We're going to go with the first few lines. about shepherd, pastures, still water, and the restoration of our soul. Those words have been revised a lot. They've been used in songs. Some of them are kind of strange, like Charles Fillmore's revision of it, the founder of Unity, that is included in the book Prosperity that he wrote during the Great Depression. The Lord is my banker. My credit is good. He makes me to lie down in the consciousness of omnipresent abundance. He giveth me the key to his strong box. He restores my faith in his riches. Now that's a very loose interpretation. There's some others. Here's an interesting one from the Native American tradition. The tribes in the Great Plains had their own language, but they shared a common sign language. And so this is a translation back to English from the sign language from the Native Americans of the Great Plains. Part of it, the first part that we'll be using. The great Father above a shepherd is. I am his, and with him I want not. He throws out to me a rope, and the name of that rope is love. And he draws me to where the grass is green, and the water is not dangerous. I eat and lie down, and I'm satisfied. Let's see, Bobby McFerrin wrote a version of it that he put to music. She makes me lie down in green meadows beside the still water. She will lead. She restores my soul. She rights my wrongs. She leads me in a path of good things and fills my heart with songs. You can revise it. You can rewrite it. So as we go through this series, you might get some ideas about it. And take the ideas that the psalm points to and make it your own. That's a good exercise. Make it your own words. That's a tradition in Unity to make the stories in Scripture, to make the words our own. We call it the metaphysical interpretation of the Bible. An allegorical interpretation is a tradition going all the way back a couple thousand years to Greece. The stories are about us. The words are about us. To get into that, there are a couple of steps in Bible interpretation. The first step is to read it and see what it actually says. The second step is to say, who wrote this and what was going on when they wrote it? That's to know what the social, historical setting was. And the third step then is to say, what might that mean? What sort of archetypal, whatever that word is, meaning is to that? And what does that mean to me? What's my personal, spiritual interpretation of that? That's kind of like interpreting what your dreams mean. When you wake up in the morning, it's like, whoa, what did that mean? You don't necessarily call somebody up and ask them. You stop and reflect on it. And that's the kind of process you do with this. So we start. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. I shall not want. That's a powerful affirmation. God's going to take care of me. A lot of songs about that. God will take care of me. That there is a guiding, protecting energy that is for us. That we live in a friendly universe. We have guardian angels, maybe. That's a good thing that that's the case. Or we wouldn't have as many people around as we do. Because we had to survive teenage years when we thought we knew everything and didn't have to follow any kind of rules. And so there may be that guiding, protecting presence is within us, but it's also around us. When my son was a teenager, he was fearless, as most teenagers are. And he had some friends over. And we had a trampoline out in the yard, right kind of next to a storage barn. And so for some reason, I just felt the urge to go check on what they were doing. They were standing on top of the barn, looking at the trampoline. And I heard my son say, "I think I can land it." I immediately became a protecting presence and said, "Get off there, you can't do that. You know, if you jump onto that trampoline, you're going to go way over there and land on the ground and hurt yourself." That's a pretty standard interpretation, that God takes care of us, that there is an energy that protects us. The presence of God watches over us. The power of God protects us. In that sense, we are the sheep protected by the shepherd. There are a lot of churches that consider that the people there are sheep. They need to be told what to do. They need to be guided and inspired. They need to be told how to vote. We don't do that. We think that you are shepherds more than sheep. You have infinite wisdom within you, and you can decide how to vote. What I suggest is that you do vote, that you do take action, that you step out on what you know. So, this psalm was written by a herding culture. And that thing about sheep was common knowledge. Sheep aren't very smart. They're herd animals. They're prey animals, and so they're cautious. And they're easily startled, and they stampede off, and the shepherd has to keep things calm around them. And make sure they don't get into the water, because if they get wet, they can't swim, they'll drown. They need calm waters. So there's a little bit of the historical setting of what's going on. So are we sheep? Sometimes. Sometimes we gang together, we run off together, we get scared, we get manipulated. We want to belong. We want to be part of the in-group. That's usually whenever we're young, when we're teenagers and our ego is in charge. And one of my favorite definitions of ego is the inner teenager that says, "Look at me, I don't need anybody, I'm in charge." Okay? Well, that inner teenager needs to be parented. That inner teenager does not need to be killed, needs to be parented. We need a strong sense of identity. That the teenager is not the shepherd. The teenager gets together with other teenagers and needs to be guided by the shepherd. That's kind of that shared consciousness is the place of much of traditional religions, conventional spirituality. It is rich, transformative for many people. The connections that they have, the rituals, the tradition, that sense of comfort with this is nice and clear. This is true. I don't have to wonder about paradox. I don't have to deal with shades of gray. It says right here what to believe. Who's good, who's bad, who's right, who's wrong. Don't bother me with anything other than that. That's a pretty common position. Some of us aren't happy with that. Some of us have trouble swallowing all of that. Some of us have doubts and questions that come up, maybe because of our education, maybe because of what experiences that we've had in our lives, but we find ourselves saying, I don't know about that. I'm more than a sheep. I am somebody. I'm somebody. I have a sense of power. I know that I have that. We claim that we are the shepherd. We move from being a sheep to a shepherd. Well, that's a beginning. That's a beginning of an extraordinary journey, of a spiritual process. The heroic journey. Maybe the path of the mystic. It's the next stage in stages of faith. There's studies been done about stages of faith, from conventional to childlike, where you believe all of the superstitious stories as reality, to the conventional, traditional interpretation and rituals and doctrines, to the next stage is we say, I'm not sure. I don't think so. Let me look around. And then we try on something new. We try on something else that feels better. Okay? And that's entering into the journey, beginning that heroic path. And so, when we do that, there are certain principles that come up. And so, in this case, there's some principles that come out of this. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Green pastures, still waters, restoration of soul. The first step we do is that we don't deny the sheep that we have been. We don't deny that part of ourselves that needs to be guided. We acknowledge that. And so the first step is to say, okay, I need some help. I need some direction. I surrender. I let go. Thy will be done. And so we begin with the sense of humility, of acknowledging that there is a presence and power that's greater than ourselves, that is available to us, that responds to us. That's setting the ego aside. Being teachable. To be teachable, we have to say, I don't know everything. It takes some wisdom to say, I don't know. And that's the beginning point. And thy will be done. I need help. We turn to the good shepherd. The good shepherd, as traditionally is Jesus. With the good shepherd is the voice of infinite wisdom within us. The good shepherd could be a guru. It could be a different tradition, but we find a voice of wisdom. Manage our ego, claim our identity as a spiritual shepherd, and claim our identity as the good shepherd. We recognize that we have the wisdom within us. There's wisdom all around us, in traditions, in the order of the universe, in science, in mystery, and it's within us. And so, I am that shepherd. The Lord of our being is available within us. It's available everywhere. But it's also a presence and power within us. And so we take responsibility for our thoughts and our words and our actions. We exercise dominion over our own lives as that good shepherd. And we open to mystery. We open to a greater depth. We discover and claim some spiritual principles. Okay. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Why is that? Is that because I've decided to say the Lord is my shepherd? Is that why I shall not want? Is that why I get led to lie down in the consciousness of omnipresent abundance? Is that why I get led to lie down by the waters of deep rest? No, it's because that's the way things are. That's the nature of reality. Abundance is the nature of the universe. Abundance is the nature of the activity of God, a continual flow of good. We can call it grace, which is the unconditional flow of love. We can call it prosperity, which is tapping into that flow of possibility, creative possibility. That there is a flow of goodness. But we live in scarcity, some prosperity teachers say. Okay? The idea of scarcity has polluted that consciousness of abundance. We believe that there's limitedness, that there's only so much in the universe, and that the universe is some cold machine that's going on, that's separate from us. You know, I've heard people say we have a foot in two worlds. We live in two worlds, a spiritual world and a material world. No. We live in oneness. There is only oneness, one presence, one power, one reality. We live in two worlds is duality, is the belief in two powers. And that belief in two powers is insidious and divides us and creates all sorts of injustice between people. It creates us and them, good people and bad people, enemies and friends, punishment and retribution. No, there is only one. And that oneness is abundant. And we can be led into that abundance. We can lie down and relax in it. We can be fed in it. So, that's the basic principle of the prosperity teachings. That's the basic principle of God's grace. It's unlimited, available to us, offered to us. It's up to us to say, okay, I'll take it. I'll take it in. I'll receive it. I'll step into it. I'll let myself be lifted and carried by it. Oneness. Green pastures. I am one with the flow of abundant goodness. That's a variation on he maketh me to lie down in green pastures. I am one with the flow of abundant goodness. We add that to thy will be done. I'm open and receptive. I'm teachable. And then he leadeth me beside the still waters. The literal translation from the Hebrew is he leads me to waters of rest, to waters of renewal. The presence of God within us renews us, brings us peace, leads us to the silence where we can say, I am stillness. The I am within us. One name of the presence of the divine within us is I am. The I am takes us to the stillness. The I am is the stillness. We turn to that I am, we're taken to still waters, and we are renewed. He restores my soul. He feeds my soul. He feeds me at the depth of my being. She renews me. They, it, however you want to talk about it, the Christ within, the Buddha nature, renews us in quietness. Let's spend a little time there in that place of renewal. Let's spend a little time there beside those still waters. Now we'll do a meditation based on these early verses of the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. We start off with God will take care of me. We open ourselves to be guided. We recognize that there's a presence and power of goodness in every way, wherever we are. There is a caring, protecting, supporting, compassionate presence that is for us. God will take care of me. We let go. Trust right here, right now. There's nothing that I need. I shall not want. Shall not want. I let go. Thy will be done. I let go. Thy will be done. I let myself be shepherded. I am teachable. I surrender to infinite wisdom. To a presence and power that is within me. That good shepherd is within me. I acknowledge it. The name of that good shepherd is I am. I am the Good Shepherd. Takes care of me. I am led to the consciousness of omnipresent abundance. I am guided to the realization of limitless good, unconditional love, pure possibility. I am the flow of abundant goodness. I am one with that flow of abundant goodness. She draws me to waters of peace, to still waters of renewal, to the stillness of quiet waters, the quietness of mind that becomes as still as a reflective lake. Infinite love and wisdom, the I am draws me to peace. You might say to yourself, I am stillness. I am feeds my soul. I am in stillness. You might let that gentle movement of your breath just whisper that name. As your breath moves, just let it whisper, I am. I am. I am. And follow it. Follow that whisper into the silence, into the renewing peace, the depth of your soul, the silence of pure being. I am. I am. I am. As we prepare to return to full awareness of our body-mind system, before we do that, what would you ask? What would you affirm? What would you visualize? How would you use this place of inner power and creativity? What are your plans? What are your dreams for yourself or for others? connect that with that presence and power within in gratitude. We give thanks for that presence within. That same presence that is all around us. That same presence that is within everybody in our lives. That same presence that is active in all that we see. We give thanks that that presence is in this place. And in that presence, and in that power, there's something only we can say. There's something for us to do that only we can do. And so we give of ourselves. We give of our time and our talents and our thoughts and our words and our actions. We give of the gifts of our treasure in celebration of that presence and power. So we bless. We acknowledge that divine love blesses all that we give and all that we receive. Divine love multiplies the good in all that we are, all that we receive, and all that we give. And so in closing, we give a blessing to the oneness that we are. We give a blessing to all of humanity. We give a blessing to all of creation as us, with the words of the prayer for protection. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do on Sunday? This is a special day, you know. This is the first day of the NFL season. Steelers. Yeah. So, whether you're playing or working, whether you're alone or together, be in peace. Salam.